So I've really had a lovely experience, public sector, private sector, and self-employed.
That is wild. I want to hear more about the product sales businesses. That sounds super cool. Before we get to that, can you talk about what practices and qualities um, helped you be successful in doing that pivot and really like learning on the job, growing incredibly on the job? Um, yeah, can you talk about that?
Sure. In my experience, it took the ability to be nimble, to be flexible, and to have a level of confidence in my own abilities. And there's also a bit of vulnerability that goes in with that because, I would sit in conversations with HR practitioners, my leader, and he would say things. I was like, I don't have any idea what a market comp analysis looks like, but I'll learn. So, just having to say, that's new to me. I don't know how to do that. Can you show me? Or let me go do some research and I'll come back to you. And then you can give me feedback on if I'm aligned with what you're asking for. Um, and it took my knowing that, look, I can do this. I have a level of confidence in myself. I know, I'm smart enough. I'm quick enough, right? There are things that I can figure out like anybody can. And so just bringing that to the table was really helpful. And, once these leaders were able to see the quality of my work, skills and other sort of tasks and things can be taught. If you have the right work ethic and you have the right quality or level of excellence in your work product, the how to can be taught, or the what to do can be taught, as long as the how to is understood of I'll get this done. I'll get it done by the deadline and I'll do it with excellence.
I love it. And I love the sort of can-do attitude. So when your friend went out on maternity leave, it's like, yeah, I could, I can fill in and I can figure it
Sure.
out.
Right. Yes, I was really fortunate. I mean, it's like, I don't know how to do what you do, but you show it to me and then I'll do it and I'll do it well. So,
That's great. And as you could tell by the expression on my face, I never knew your original profession, in IT.
yeah.
And what a great example. Like one of the things I see oftentimes with people fresh out of college or a few years out is they're feeling like there's something wrong with them, that they don't have this long range plan of the perfect, career trajectory. And it's like, no, so much of it is like serendipity or stumbling upon something and discovering like, hey, this is a great fit.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, I use a lot of what I learned in school and from my first career. Like I've put in HRIS systems and I can do that in a different way as the chief people leader because I was trained as an IT professional.
That's a great point.
Mhm.
That it's not like you're starting over. It's like you've got this whole other body of knowledge that can add value. And then for people who are job searching, differentiate you from others.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll say for those that are job searching, it's really incumbent on you to point out where you can make those connections in a job posting, for example, or a job advertisement. You need to point that out to the hiring manager. They might not see it, but if you're lucky enough to get an interview, point it out. And if not, do it in the cover letter. Right. Let me explain to you how I think that I can make the connections and what you're looking for, even though my experience or my title isn't exactly what you're looking for. I still have connection points and I still have the competencies, for example, that I do now carry over nicely to this position in this way.
Yeah. Can you talk more about that? So a couple of things come to mind. So one is what you just described is like a great example of what I try to emphasize with clients is connect the dots for the interviewer. It's like, it's not up to them to connect what they're looking for with your background, especially if it's a kind of a non-traditional one. Can you say other thoughts about for career, let's say for career changers, about how to show like I can do this even though I don't have this exact, experience?
Right. So hiring managers are looking for the easy button. They want to win. So they want whoever they're hiring to be the right fit. So make it easy for them. So a couple of things I would suggest, and I've seen several people do this, is when you're creating your resume, oftentimes not using a chronological one, or if you use the chronological one, move it to the bottom, and at the top of the resume, put those competencies or skills that are transferable from past experience to this particular position that you're interested in. And put it at the top of the resume so that that hiring person can see it and all the keywords line up, right? So for SEO, right, you need to make sure that the keywords are present and showing up and are searchable. And then if given the opportunity to write a cover letter, then just literally draw the connection. You say in your job posting indicates skill set A. Here's how I've done that. And then the best is show some evidence of that. So a work product, a PowerPoint slide deck, an Excel spreadsheet, something that you've built that speaks to that particular duty that or competency that they're looking for. Of course, redacted if it's got other information on it, right? You don't want to share anything from a previous employer. But if you've created it, if it's your work product and you can use that to demonstrate your level of skill, that is the best way to help a hiring manager see what you can do.
I love that. It reminds me of this marketing principle where this guy said demonstration beats presentation every time.
Yes.
So you had like, here's a demonstration of what I can do versus like, I can really do this, Now
Yes.
I'm curious about, so your first point about having like what's called, as it's called a functional resume. So having those competencies kind of pulled out from the like diverse work experiences. Typically, I hear that's frowned upon, but it sounds like for you, at least in your team and in your experience, that isn't seen as like shady or questionable. It's like, no.
And it becomes evident to the resume reviewer if you look down through there and the titles don't necessarily match up. But an experienced recruiter or sourcer is going to know that. And they say, okay, well, the job titles don't line up, but let me see what their experience has actually yielded. And so then they can look at the functional, right? The competencies, the skills, and the other things that they've done. And also if they have additional training, like call that out. Or if you have a license in, if you're a project manager, make sure that is highlighted on your resume or in your application. Because that might put you ahead of another candidate. For example, maybe they have health experience and you don't, but you have a project manager certification and they don't, so those items really can be differentiators. And, I think that it is also, it's a buyer's market, right? It's a candidate's market right now. So candidates have the opportunity to be a bit more selective. So put your best foot forward, of course, but I'll tell you, employers are looking hard at applications to make sure that we're getting the right people in the door, and we're expanding our, we're really casting a wide net, because where we have looked in the past and our candidate pool is too small, we're widening that net. And so, yeah, we're looking at people who might have a different title now than what we're actually looking for. So it's our job then, we go and look to try to find those competencies that might show up a little bit different for someone who's, as I say, hasn't had that exact experience, but something similar.